Hello, everyone. Well, it's that time of year. Everybody's got their top 10 list coming out, and I decided to make my own. This is my list of my favorite top 10 horror books of 2022. I wanted to let you know that first, these are in no particular order. These are just the 10 that stuck with me the most. Second, this does not include any novellas or anthologies I've read, not because they weren't worthy, because there were a few that definitely could have made it, but just to make my job easier. This was hard as it was trying to pick 10 out of all the many, many amazing books I've read this year. And the third thing to remember is that, I haven't read every single book that's come out this year in the horror genre. That's just an impossibility. So there might be books out there that I haven't read that might have absolutely deserved to be in this list. And that's where you come in, because maybe you've read some, and you can leave me a comment. Let me know which ones I missed, which ones you thought should have been included. Let me know if you agree with my decisions after watching this video, or if you disagree. So feel free to use that comment box to sound off about your favorites of the year. And now I'm going to tell you mine. All right, let's get on with the video. All right. So book number 10 is Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin. If you've ever thought to yourself, you know what I want? I want a horror book set in a future where men are feral animals and two trans women are hunting them down to cut off their testicles. Hey, we've all been there. We've all wanted that dream scenario. And now you have it right here with this awesome book. But despite that being the premise, and despite that part of the book that seems to always come out when people talk about it, there is much more to this book than just testicle cutting. Okay? This is a very rich, complex book, a very angry book, a very dark book. And it really hones in on the feeling some people, certain people, have today and things that are going on with politics and hate crimes and everything like that. And it's probably more relevant now than it was even when it came out, considering all the news that is coming out about that subject from the government. So yeah, I knew as soon as I read it, this was going to be one of my top 10. It's just fantastic all the way through. There's much more to it than testicle cutting, and you should definitely pick it up. My book number 9 is Sundial by Catriona Ward. Oh my God, I love Catriona Ward. The first review I did on this channel was her book, Last House on Needless Street. And this one did not disappoint. This is about a family, a mother and a daughter, their relationship. And as always, there are little breadcrumbs throughout about what's really going on. But at the end, she gives that big reveal, that big twist. And then you just have to go back and start the book over. It's like one of those movies you watch where a big reveal is at the end. And you go, oh man, I must have missed some stuff. So you rewatch the movie. That's the way I feel about this book. I always go back and start her books over once I get to that big ending. And this one is full of, it's going to be heartbreaking. It's horrifying when you consider what the mother is going to be doing, but even more terrifying when you realize what the daughter has done, or what you think all of this is going on. And then something happens at the end and it's just like, oh, wow. Okay, I did not see that coming. So yeah, this is a memorable book also. That's why it's in my top 10 list. So check out Sundial by Catriona Ward. Book number 8 is going to be Mary by Nat Cassidy. This book took me by a complete surprise. The protagonist is a middle-aged woman right at the beginnings of menopause. She lives a very lonely, unseen existence, her only friends being some porcelain figures that she talks to, and they talk back to her. But she has to go back to her small desert town to live with her aunt, and things are going to get bloody and creepy and weird and all that good stuff, because you got the small town with full of weird characters. You got ghosts that show up everywhere she's going, but don't talk to her and don't approach her. She just doesn't know what they want. And then you have a cult in the town that's going to tie all these elements together, and it's just a fantastic book, and one that you'll have a hard time putting down once you start. I absolutely loved it, and that's why I recommend it. Mary by Nat Cassidy. All right, book number 7 is The Hollows by Daniel Church. Ooh, if you want a creepy, claustrophobic story with a kind of an inbred country family, cult-like family, set during a snowstorm, trapping everybody inside with monsters running around, hell-bent on destroying the entire city, with some cosmic horror and some underground gods thrown in, this is the book for you. This book is exciting. It's action-packed. You'll feel the cold that they're in, the danger they're in as these creatures try to get at them, destroying the town, doing whatever they can to get at the humans. And the family, this redneck, almost inbred family, who has no ties to any of the townspeople, they keep to themselves. They have secrets. They know things about what's happening, and they are not willing to share it with anybody, because as far as they're concerned, the rest of the town can just go to hell. But they think they know what they have to do to stop what's going to happen, but they might be wrong. Oh, this is just a fantastic, fun-filled, action-packed book, and it'll give you a case of the creeps. Perfect for winter. Yes. So, The Hollows. Pick it up. Number 6 on my list is Reborn by Stephanie Ellis. I love Stephanie Ellis. I loved her. Hopefully this is going to be a trilogy, but this is the second book in the Wheelborn series, the first one being The 5 Turns of the Wheel. And if that one would have came out this year, I would have included that in the list. I would have had 2 Stephanie Ellis books in this list. That's how I feel about this series. It's folk horror at its finest. She's built a whole world and a whole mythos around her characters and around this other world that happens, this in-between world from our world, through the shadow, through the veil kind of thing, alternate. Not really alternate, because it's actually there. But you'll just have to read it to find out. This is some of the best folk horror you'll ever read. You'll love the characters, and luckily, most of the characters return for this installment, and I really love how the emphasis is on one particular character, and how the thought in this one is, if there's going to be change, if there's going to be rebirth, there needs to be sacrifice, and a lot of blood sacrifice there will be. Definitely pick up Reborn by Stephanie Ellis. All right, and next we have the very epic, very awesome dark fantasy horror, No Gods for Drowning by Haley Piper. This is a dark book. This is a bleak book. But the characters, oh my God. She has a way of writing about characters that is just inspiring. If you're an aspiring writer and want to know how to write a complex, relatable character, this is one of those books you should check out, because the lead character is so sympathetic, and she's so sad, so burdened, and yet so strong, and so almost godlike in her devotion, and later on some of the things she does that it's just such a well-rounded character. And like I said in my original review, one of the probably the best queer character you're ever going to read in a book this year. It's just fantastic. And the rest of the story about this town is it's flooding. The gods have abandoned this town. Things are coming for this town, and they don't know what to do about it. And all our protagonists and her group can do is try to protect them. But it might not be enough, because when your gods abandon you, where does that leave you? Like I said, this is a dark fantasy horror, but it's so good. It's epic, and it's violent, and it'll leave you guessing. It'll have your mouth hanging open, all that good stuff. And I cannot recommend it enough. No Gods for Drowning by Haley Piper. Now, of course, Stephen King came out with a new book, and that means, yes, he is going to be on my list. I'm sorry if you don't agree with that. Maybe I should have taken this book out and given it to another lesser-known author, but I thought his book, Fairy Tale, was one of his best in many years. Because what if Stephen King wrote a fairy tale? And how would that look? And we get the book that answers that question. And it even has a little bit of cosmic horror there at the end. If you've read it, you know what I mean. And this book features a dog that plays a prominent character in here. Even though we don't hear from the dog plays a main role, to the point where there's a whole big section of the book where the dog is not present. And you really think you miss this dog, you know? Even though it's only a companion, he writes it so well. And his relationship with the owner, that is fantastic. And this world he shows up in is going to have good, it's going to have evil. There are all variations on different fairy tales and legends that he's written. And it's just wonderful and magical, scary at the end. And even the lead up to how our protagonist finds this whole is classic Stephen King, setting the characters up nicely in the real world, letting them experience something that they're not ready for, and then letting the story go. So yeah, I had to include this one and pick it up. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. And next on our list is Ronald Malfi and his book Blackmouth. This is a coming-of-age story about some people who meet a homeless man who turns out to be a magician, and yet his intentions are very, very evil. And things are going to get a little creepy. They're going to get a little supernatural. And it's going to be a very scary thing, because the magic man, as they call this man that's in the woods that they think is homeless, can perform magic tricks. He's offering to teach them magic tricks. And you can imagine where it goes from there. A homeless guy in the woods saying, "Hey, come over here, kids. I got a trick I want to show you," usually leads to bad things. But this magic man is has much more tune than that, and he's much more, well, maybe not more evil, but he's very evil. And he has plans for these kids. And yeah, it's very suspenseful, very engaging, as all of Ronald's books are. And it was one of my favorites of the year. So pick up Blackmouth by Ronald Malfi. And next we have Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. This is probably the only one I still haven't done my single book review. Out of all these books, I've made my full reviews. You can check on my videos. For some reason, I never got around to this one. I do apologize. And it's odd because it is one of my favorite books of the year, Just Like Home. Because this is about a woman who comes home. It's about family, but listen, this book is going to make your dysfunctional family feel like Leave It to Beaver. You know, the Cleaver family there in their wholesome 50s innocence. Because her father is a notorious serial killer. Her mother has issues with her relationship with her father. It's a jealousy thing because the father gives so much attention to the daughter, and yet the father is a really nice guy. He's a serial killer, a famous serial killer, but when she's describing their relationship, it's always one of love and care and tenderness, and not any other violence you would think. So it turns that whole thing on its head, and you don't really know what to believe because you think this father is a good man. He's treating her okay, but you know he's done some terrible, terrible, awful things. And when she has to go back home and face all that after her father is dead and her mother is in such failing health that she can't get up, she is obligated as a daughter. She feels obligated to go take care of her mother. But that does not go well. And the past is going to catch up with the present. And yeah, it's going to be a very dark, very scary ride. Just Like Home. I definitely recommend this book. And lastly, but certainly not least, out of my top 10 favorite horror books that came out in 2022 is Daphne by Josh Malerman. This is great, and I hope this is going to be a franchise. I really, really do, because Josh has written a book here about, it's a slasher, but it's got such an incredible lead character, a 7-foot tall woman dressed in denim that loves to listen to heavy metal music. And her name's Daphne, and she is coming after the members of a girls' high school basketball team. And there's a reason why she exists. Like I said in my interview, the reason Daphne even exists, it's got a really good twist on why she exists, or the legend behind it and the lore is absolutely fantastic, and gives a feeling of hopelessness, because the reason she exists is the reason why they can't get rid of it. And they're kind of stuck in this situation, and what are they going to do before all the members of this basketball team dies? And Josh has mixed up basketball metaphors in a fantastic way. Even if you don't like sports, you're going to see that these the metaphors he gives, these rituals and things these girls do with the basketball and on the basketball court. You can see that it has a bearing in the story that's also emerging about this Daphne and about this legend that might, that everybody believes has come back to life to go after this specific high school girls basketball team. It's just it's a fantastic blend. It's got a great antagonist, unique in every way, and it caught my attention. And by the end, I was just like, oh my God, this was great. It's going on my list. And here we are, and yes, it is on my list. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 horror books that were released in 2022. Again, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought, and give me your tops. Now, you don't have to give me 10. Give me 1, give me 2, give me however many you want of the best books that came out in 2022 that you've read. I would love to read your comments. Also, check out down below, you can buy copies of my books. I have 2 books of short horror stories. One is called The Things That Happen at Night. The other one I just released is called Monsters. And I have a standalone slasher comedy called Brookhaven. You can find the link for that down there. And join me on my social media and all that good stuff. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time, spending it here with me. I really appreciate you guys watching. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.